Good morning, everybody. This is Joe Mansueto. I'm with Godlan. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day to join us today. Today's presentation is on sightline configuration, and as you saw in our invitation to this event, as well as you may have seen in other places, the product is now known as Infor PCM, which that acronym stands for Product Configuration Management. Taking us through today's presentation is our own Ron Klontz. A number of you know Ron, but for those who may not, Ron has a 20-plus year Sightline background, serves as Vice President here at Godlan, and also heads up our Business Solutions team. I would ask that as Ron takes us through today's presentation, if you're thinking of things, you have questions, comments, anything like that, if you go ahead and submit that through the pane that you have there, type your comments, your question in there, and then at the end we'll have a little bit of Q&A time, and we'll read those off and allow Ron to respond to those. There will also be at the very end a slide that he'll put up with some contact information in case you have a question or comment after the presentation. You can go ahead and email those in to us as well, and we'll follow up with you. With that, I believe we're ready to go, so let me hand things over to Ron.
Well, thank you, Joe, and good morning, everyone. With that introduction, I'll just kind of jump right in. Product configuration management has really transformed over the last few years, especially inside of the Sightline family. I'm talking about Sightline specifically. Myself, I've been working with Sightline, as Joe said, a little over 20 years, but I started in '94 with a company that built one of the first product configurators for back then, be it Simex/Sightline. And so kind of lived this environment, if you will, for a lot of manufacturers, a lot of companies that have dealt with product configuration issues. And so today what I want to introduce you to is a suite of products that definitely has a strong product configurator, but also other capabilities that's really transforming the way manufacturers sell and engage customers, the way they go to market, and the way they're solving very complex problems that's helping them compete more efficiently and do a whole lot of things. And so this suite is really made up of 5 key areas. The basis, obviously, is Infor Product Configurator. That's formerly the TDCI product. Infor acquired that company completely here recently, and now that suite of products is being integrated across the Infor family, and of course Sightline has been integrated to that solution for several years. So now we're reaping the benefits of that. But it's the configurator, it's sales portal, document automation, and 2D and 3D design automation. I'm going to talk a little bit today about these in depth. I'm going to show you a little example and kind of want you to walk away with really a newfound respect and I guess understanding of what Configurator is really all about and how it can help your companies kind of look at things differently of how you sell and go to market and solve some of the complex problems that you have out there with your teams trying to deal with a lot of times very complex products. So what we've seen, and like I said, in my years of working with a lot of companies that do this, there's a lot of issues here. When you have a complex product that you're going to market with, there's a lot of stuff that go around that, and companies have built in all kind of safeguards. They've hired product engineers. They have customer service reps that have 10-plus years experience. They do all kind of things from creating smart part numbers to try to make it easy to work with. But the bottom line is those products are just hard to sell. And finding reps that understand the product, well, that's near impossible. That's why you have really good customer service people, is because, you know, they're the guys that are the front line to work with engineering and manufacturing to make sure things go right. But at the end of the day, it's about these products being really hard to sell. Reps, it's hard to keep them productive because they spend so much time dealing with these complex products and all the variants that go on, all the variations and permutations. And sometimes it's just customers want stuff that's really unique that gets out of the box of even a configurator's capabilities. And there's ways that you can do that. And, of course, when you go through a distribution channel, of course, that complexity goes up, and it's very difficult to manage with distributors. That's why you create product catalogs that have all these variations showing how you break down your smart part number string and how that goes into the different options. The problem with that is well, at some point you may run out of options in your part number string, and now you've got a bunch of part numbers in your database that really aren't representative of the features and the functions and the product you're trying to take to market today. And being able to produce and introduce new products to the market is very, very slow. So these are a lot of the challenges that are really driving a lot of things for companies to where they're not driving the revenues that they want, because it's very hard for them to change and to innovate. And of course, you've got all the repercussions that come from that, as I call it, and that's the orders and the errors, if you will, on the orders and even quotes, the scrap and rework, a lot of duplication of efforts, because things sometimes have to be touched and retouched 2 or 3 times just to make sure you're not making a mistake. And there's a ton of manual activity in those efforts. And I would say that, a lot of times we don't think about the customer impact of this, but that can be really huge. Customers don't want things to be difficult, and they want to go to the experts, and they want it to be fast and things you get back to them really quick, right? But when you've got all these issues that make it difficult for the processes up front, then the customers are going to be the guys that get the brunt of that on the end. The customer could be an end user customer. It could also be a distributor. And of course, anytime you get that, you've got potential service issues, and you have to make your products a little less robust and more cookie cutter to remove some of the complexity we talked about. So these are challenges that every sort of configuration manufacturer deals with, of what they go to market with every day. The good news is we're here to talk about some solutions that directly impact everything you see. And it's a game changer. It definitely is. This can take your company to a whole new level of how you impact customers, how you go to market, and potentially can drive new revenue. So let's get into that and talk about it in more detail. The value proposition is really simple. We've got to increase sales, we've got to reduce some cost, and we've got to help you differentiate in the marketplace. And what I mean by differentiate is what makes you different than your competitors that are offering very similar products. Are you the easiest to do business with? Are you the guy they call when they have something complex they need done because they know you're the best and the fastest to turn around a quote or an order or get them product, right? And you do it without error, which makes them look bad, obviously, for bringing your products into their organization. So that's what's at stake, and product configuration management can hit at the heart of those issues and help you really drive sales, reduce cost, and differentiate your brand. So increasing sales, this gets down to how you quote in minutes and not days. There's things about cross-selling. This is sort of a nebulous term for a lot of companies. What does that mean? Well, it means when I'm in and doing a configuration, and maybe it's configuration of a product or a solution, that knowing what works with what. When I have this particular product, that something else is going to be sold with that, or it works with that, or is complementary to that. Sometimes the value of an order can go up, and the value of a solution. You can sell more product just by knowing that. The senior reps know it. The senior customer service reps know it. But if you hire some new folks sometimes, they may not understand all that. And we have tools that specifically help you cross and upsell so that everyone has that ability when they're going through the order and quote process, so that it's not just the senior folks that are driving the most productivity. And of course, you want to increase your win rates. How about being able to deliver personalized proposals without having to spend days or sometimes weeks generating those proposals in the back office and spending all that time and issue doing that. And of course, being able to introduce new products, as you talked about. That's really the essence of what we mean by increasing sales and driving that revenue out. There's, of course, more to this, but really you've got to engage that sales team and help them be a lot more productive in what they're doing. If you do that, then you're going to see that the productivity and the dollars will follow as a result. Reducing the cost goes in hand with that. If we get the quoting part correct, take out the complexity and thus the errors, then we get fewer returns. The fewer returns are, from, the reps being able to self-serve without having to go through engineering, manufacturing, and maybe customer service for doing this. It takes time. It takes a lot of attention and a manual effort to do that. So having a self-service portal where they can do quoting and even place orders to make it very visual, like to run on an iPad, that can make it really simple for a rep to do this. But understand, you can't get out of bounds because internally the model that they're running was developed by the sales and operations and the manufacturing folks to determine what is valid and not valid for the rep to be able to configure. And of course, the resulting piece is now we generate correct manufacturing information. We've always been able to, with product configuration management, to generate a very detailed bill of manufacture, and that's all the operation steps with the materials and all the quantities, the cut list, everything from the configuration engine, because it has manufacturing rules built in, can generate that all dynamically. So you get a tied to that quote or an order, a very detailed, what I call bill of manufacture, meaning the process steps along with the materials that allow you to execute not only the quote phase and detailed costing, but also on the manufacturing phase down to individual parts, work centers, cut list, etc. We've always been very good at that. And the configuration engine is kind of key to being able to do that on the fly within seconds based on all the features and options and choices that we made during the configuration session. And of course, by being able to automate those things, being it from the self-service part or even generating manufacturing information, that's stuff that we're automating what's called non-value adding activities. If I have to double and triple enter something, that would be the definition of a non-value added activity. The customer's really not served in that. For any companies that's gone through value stream mapping or any lean initiatives, you look and you hone in and target non-value added activities. Remove those from the process because they don't add anything to the customer experience or to the bottom line of the organization. And of course, this is all about bringing systems and having them work together. And we're going to see an example to where we're going to be able to do something from a quote and ordering. I'm going to show you an example of what the rep would do. And of course, this would automatically translate to all the back-end systems automatically just from the rep doing the self-service piece on the front end. And of course, by setting these pieces up, now we start to differentiate your company and your brand in the marketplace. For your customers and your distributors that you may work with, they'll find it's fast and easy to do business with you. Reps and distributors, they could go online and use the sales portal. Those are easy-to-use tools. And now you've become the guy that's removed a real headache and an obstacle for them because it's been too complex, and they're always having to call and get somebody on the phone. If you're in a business that may be international, to where you're 24/7 around the world, well, the U.S. isn't always open, right? But people around the world may want to get online and do a quote for a particular product. So change the way they get to it, when they get to it, and how easy it is to use, then you've changed the buying experience, which goes to the heart of loyalty. Of course, you get to shorten the quote to delivery time, and ultimately you're being able to offer products to the market much faster and introduce and innovate a lot quicker than you could if you're dealing with some of your manual systems. And that's the key to offering what customers want to buy and what they want to configure. If you can make it simple, make it easy, then you've got yourself differentiation from your competitors. Here's some examples of how customers, these are Sightline customers that are driving real customer value from doing exactly what I just described. Gorman Rupp's a company that we worked with for a lot of years. They're running around 400 Sightline users, very large organization. These guys make pumps, and they're very complex. But they've been able to increase sales by just really doing the things we talked about, from product introduction and just easier part identification. Pumps have all kinds of speeds, feeds, flows, impeller size, diameter, what you're going to bring through the pipe, etc. And there's a lot of variance to it, and it's very complex. They're using product configuration management to take the complexity out of that business and enable them to drive sales across their channels. So, of course, the resulting piece is, they're able to differentiate their brand, reduce the cost, and do the things we talked about. And then you've got Harper and Celix. I'll let you guys just read these. I won't read them to you. But I've just got a few customers up here that, if you happen to see them out at a user group, you can go up and talk to them about product configuration management and what it's doing for their organization, because this can be very, very dynamic and can be a huge impact on an organization to really change the way they go to market and sell with complex products. A few more, Ingersoll Rand, Wausau, and Great Plains. These are also three organizations that are very different. But are using product configuration management a number of ways. Wausau is doing more of a counter sales approach, and it's just different based on the industry and what you're doing. It doesn't have to be a pump that you're configuring. It could be a whole number of things. Here they're doing like farming solutions and products like that. So You can get very creative to what products and what solutions that this applies to. And we're going to talk about that just a little bit now. First, I want to differentiate and I guess talk about how these solutions that I position from Configuration Management Studio from the traditional view that you may have gotten introduced to related to configuration. Most everyone knows that product configuration is you're configuring a product. That's going to be integrated to SightLine, right? Meaning that we're going to generate pricing. We may have text on our order. We may have a number of things that the product configurator does, and it'll generate a bill of manufacture, aka a job, that's going to have all my routing and all my bill of materials in there with the quantities and everything based on the configurator and what it's built based on the rules. Well, there's a lot more to it than just that, as we've talked about and already seen, but this is now some of the details to that. Customer service traditionally would go through, they'd do their features and options, and of course we're going to get on the back end, the bill of material, the routings, and the shop order, right? That's pretty traditional. Well, that's what we call just a niche configuration solution, which historically that's really what SightLine has had. When you start out years ago, it was PRT, then it became Trilogy, and today it was by design that, of course, now Infor has purchased and is building into all their solutions. But what by design, now product configuration management is bringing to the table is a new way of looking at this. So what makes it different? Simple. First of all, the products. It's not only products, but it can be systems. Maybe pump systems, or it could be any kind of integration of a system of a multiple different solutions and multiple configurations, right? Multi-level configuration. So it can also not only configure products, it can configure systems, it can configure services that go along with it. Maybe you're a construction-oriented manufacturer where you make a solution, you deliver it to a job site, you construct and install, right? You can also do a lot of things around services to really build a total solution for the customer. So you may be very product-oriented, you may be solution-oriented, or somewhere in the middle. Product configuration management now allows you to handle that in sort of a number of different ways. So from that standpoint, this really moves and changes really the game of everything. It's all integrated to ERP, but also we're taking this out to the web, we're taking this out through CRM, and we're also talking to CAD. This is different. You noticed up front I had 2 and 3D CAD as part of the product configuration management suite. Built into the CAD engine is 2D and 3D capability. Not every company wants to turn it on, but it's a module you can select. But that can really be a game changer if you're dealing with dimensional-oriented product. Width, length, size, height, radius, etc. Integration to CAD could be a very, very big deal. Well, that's also part of not only just integrating to SightLine, but also being able to talk and run over the web, run in CRM, and do CAD. That can be a very big part of really getting a solution out there in the right place to enable you to realize the benefits that we talked about earlier. So, of course, this engineering piece being 2D, 3D, there's algorithms, there's also product variants, because sometimes you need to see all the product variants or the options that are available, have those presented so that you get a true engineer-oriented guided selling approach for complex products. So a number of ways you want to tackle it, but understand that there's new capabilities in here that have never been part of configuration before that I just want you to walk away and kind of know about today. Even the marketing piece, we talked a little bit about. I might have mentioned, being able to change your brand and how you go to market. I really call this the whole guided selling piece. It is allowing multiple sales channels to get in an easy-to-use, web-based environment, like on an iPad or something, or in a web browser, and go through and be able to see my product options. What are my full range of offerings with dynamic content? I'll talk a minute about what that is. But that's really how you change the game. And, of course, this all results in sales, fast and easy quotes, and we're going to talk about proposals and proposal generation. That's something new. And then being able to do it on any device, that's kind of a game changer because you may want it on an iPad, you may want it on a web browser. And that is what we call a complete configuration solution. Not just a niche configurator that does features and options in an order or quote and generates a bill, right? This is a lot more than that. And bringing those other parts to the table is what I believe is truly the key to creating an easy-to-use guided selling tool for the reps to increase their productivity and to drive sales, but yet on the back end being able to do all those automations and maybe proposal generation, just understanding what options are available. It cuts down all the calls, all the huddle meetings, and everything else that you're doing behind the scenes to do this manually today. And that's a complete configuration solution. Here's just some screenshots, and I'm going to drop in and do an example in a moment. But what I mean by an easy configuration for the products and services, it's just a visually appealing application that can run in a web browser or on your iPad. This example here, they're doing a door. So I get to choose from a color palette the types of stains and wood species that I want on my door. And down here, I get to look at the arch panel and top, and I get to start to look at some dimensions, and I've got a 2D rendering in the right pane. So for a rep to come in and go, okay, I'm looking for a door like this. This is what the customer wants, and he starts to work with the dimensions and understand this model that was put together and rolled out was done so from our internal sales, operations, and manufacturing team. They will work along with engineering to determine what is and is not valid for the rep or distributor to do online, so they can never get out of bounds, and that's kind of the key. They can't be configuring products that we don't manufacture. They can't put in stain options that we don't have. They can't pick dimensions that won't fit on the router. So that keeps down on the scrap and the rework and just the frustration of trying to sometimes push through product that you might not even have the capability to make. Now, there are times to where you want to add a box in there that says other or custom and let the company or the customer tell you what they want. Well, guess what? That gets routed through engineering as a one-off or a managed by exception type of process. And that's how you get your speed and efficiency by doing that. The web-based piece is really simple. They have a very large button interface. I'll bring this up in a second. But in there, we can build a quote. We can control all the pricing at various levels for manufacturer's discount. We want to upcharge, all those types of things. And then, of course, being able to build what is very important, which is a dynamic proposal. And from this configuration session of the quote, I'll be able to pop up a box to generate the proposal, and it'll generate the document content for all the pages that I've basically built out and said that I want through little check boxes. Do I want a cover page? Do I want a spec sheet? Do I want the contracts to be included, right? So most companies that have technically difficult products, they also have the corresponding paperwork to go along with it, meaning that they have to generate sometimes 5, 10, 15, 20 pages of how they cover themselves when they sell this product. Here's the specs. Here's the terms and conditions. Here's my contract, etc., plus schematics and maybe some marketing materials. That's how they sell. They want all that to go in the package, produced in Word or PDF on demand. And that's part of the configuration solution, is to be able to generate those documents dynamically based on our configuration along with a picture. So as we talked about, this experience is very different. It's very visual. It can handle lookups for different products. It can do the two-dimension. It can also be photo quality to change the rendering, and has a very dynamic photo rendering engine in it. It's not just a culmination of bitmaps. It's a lot smarter than that. And it can also drive 3 dimensions to where you really wanted to rotate on axis and drive a 3-dimensional drawing. A lot of companies have looked to do this. They've gone out with AutoCAD. They've got various products and tried to do that. But understand this can talk 3D and drive 3D information out and sort of start the AutoCAD rendering piece, and you don't have to kind of come at it from the other side. So there's a lot of capability in here. We could do a whole session on the 2D and 3D alone, but understand this configuration engine has that capability and can really help you visually represent your product, and then that helps you put that on quotes to say, here, Mr. Customer, this is exactly what we've configured for you. Does that make sense? And sometimes a picture is worth 1,000 words. And of course, a big part is it's got to have easy access, as we talked about on the desktop. iPhone, iPad. We've kind of removed the barriers of how you get to the solutions. Understand you still have to have security and authorization. You've got to be set up to have access to it, and we get to decide, what a person or an individual sees. So a sales rep may get on, and he may see one level of configuration, versus if I've got a distributor that comes on, he may see a different level. The same way with customer service and manufacturing. We can build one model, but yet determine what user gets what level of information out in the configuration session, which is also very powerful because, not everyone would need the same, like an engineering view, because of their detail and level of granularity. We may not want to expose that to the rep or to the distributor. That's also a very important part for how you be successful in trying to get a configuration model out, make it simple and easy to use for your sales teams and your sales channels. Okay, with that, let's take a look. I've got an example. I've got the sales portal up. And so this sales portal is an example of how a sales rep or maybe a distributor in your channel could come in and do a simple quote or an order. So what I'm going to do is I could go in and look at my quotes and see everything that's out there, but I'm just going to go back to my home page, and just for simplicity's sake, I'm going to jump right in, and I'm just going to do a quick quote. So I hit the little plus button. I'm going to select the customer. We'll just get one here, and I'm going to configure today that same door, and I'm going to put in a quick quote name. I'm on version number 1, and then I'm going to put in here wood and let it find my door. So you notice the first thing it comes up with is it gives me the ability to do like a quick configuration. It automatically read the configuration model and knows that this is kind of the key 6 or 8 or 9 areas that we really need to tell the system to generate a configuration. I could go ahead and select some of these. I could change and do this, and I drop right in, and away we go. Right? I hit the add button, and now I've got that product on my quote and ready to go. Or if I want to, for example, I want to show you the configurator, I'm going to hit the configure button and go into a little more extensive guided selling, if you will. And so I'm going to hit the configure button. This just takes us into that guided selling session that I talked about that could be different based on your user type. So I'm just going to do a couple things. I may select a cherry and a cider. But let's say, for example, I really want to know more about the wood species. So in this, with that little question mark, I can bring up hyperlinks to all types of technical information. This could be speeds and feeds and technical documentation that helps your reps understand exactly what that option and what that selection is all about. So as we go through, it's nothing more than you pick the options, you hit continue. Now I need to maybe pick a type of door panel that I'm going to have, and the Roman thing sounds good. I'll select that one and hit continue. And so now it's presenting me to say, okay, we really now need to know the specifics of your door. Notice if I change it from square panel to square top to maybe arch panel and arch top, notice on the right that our rendering of the 2D is automatically changed. So I'm also going to put in dimensions because I want to see, maybe I've got collision avoidance. Maybe I need to know that I've gotten a certain amount of room and for my takeoff, etc. I can do that. Notice if I change my width of my door to 40, it's automatically re-rendered the engine on the right and changed the dimensional attributes. You can also hit the drop down to see, well, I notice that I can only make a door 41 inches wide. I can't go any bigger. Same holds true for the width. So maybe I want a 95 on my width, or the height, I'm sorry, and then notice that 96 is as big as I can go on the door because of that, and most buildings won't fit any larger than that, right? We have thickness. We have some other things we can do. So if I'm happy with this, I can then hit continue, and it gives me a couple of other options. Would I like some hinges? If I answer yes, because the rules are firing based on the answer to every question that's being answered and information is being entered into the model. So until I answered yes to the hinges, these options did not even appear and pop up in the model, but they did that dynamically. So maybe I want 3 hinges, the hinge size, and I want them left-handed. Maybe I want those hinges to be on the right side. You'll notice that it automatically moved the hinges to the right and did all the takeoff and the clearances. At any point in time, if I want to see all the options that I've selected, I can go to Summary, and there's all the options that I've selected. And I may also want to see exactly how this price of $517.50, if you notice up at the top, I may want to see how that is getting calculated. Well, it looks like that my cherry added 120, my style was 100, and my hinges that I just selected adding $7.50. So we also notice it can do calculations, like it's doing a radius calculation behind the scenes. We may utilize this radius calculation to determine material attributes on our job later, but understand the configuration engine can do very complex algorithms just like you can in CAD, but yet this is really intended to be, the intent is to be for a rep or someone to do this, that it kind of guides them through the selling process visually, so at the end of the day they can do a quote. I may have questions like, where is this getting shipped to? What type of hardware package would you like? All the types of questions that go along with your quote and order process can be built here. So I may want to ship hardware separately. That may create another line item on my order for my kit, etc. So all kind of capabilities and options. So let's go ahead and accept this door just to see that it drops it now onto my quote. I can see that I've got my door, and anytime I want to change my options, I hit the button, I go back in. I can go to my pricing and adjust my pricing if I need to, if I have security and authorization to do that. I can also copy. Maybe this customer wants to quote 3 doors. Well, how quick is it just to hit the copy button? Now I've got door number 2. I can then go to change options and maybe change it to be, instead of 40 by 95, I want to change that to go back in. I hit change. I can go right back to my options. And let's see, we want to maybe change this from 40 to 95. We'll take this one to be 30 and maybe 80, right? Something like that. So we'll change those 2 options. We'll hit continue and finish. And now we've got door number 2, 30 by 80. It's $446. And of course, because this does revisioning, I can now turn and hit the plus sign to make this into quote version 2 and send the customer a proposal for version 1 versus version 2, done all within seconds, remotely by the rep without having to involve manufacturing, sales, and customer service, all in guided selling where they can't get in trouble. This is how you unleash the power to take your company to that next level, is with tools like this. And of course, you want to finish it off. We want to do a generate proposal. I'll come in and just select maybe some of the basics just so we get an example here. I'm going to hit continue. And now I want to see my proposal. So there again, the rep can do all this remotely. Now I have the proposal. And if you notice, we just scroll down. There's my 2 doors and, of course, my totals. And then I decided that I wanted the door features as part of that proposal packet. So the rep did all that remotely without using any of the bandwidth in customer service or engineering or manufacturing, which a lot of times that's exactly what it does. Or if they do it on their own, it's not very high quality, and it's on the back of a napkin, and sometimes nobody knows about it, right? Well, this was all done through the tool set. Now that's a quote that's out. If the rep wants to then place the order on behalf of the customer, they hit the place order button. And that order now is in Sightline. Customer service can review, firm that up into work orders, and we're off and running with all the features, options, capabilities, text, and information that the rep quoted. Everybody's on the same page. There's no double and triple rekeying, if you will, and you reduce the errors and the complexity and ultimately the time it takes to respond to customers on complex products. And that's in essence an example of really how product configuration management is really changing the game for our complex configure-to-order manufacturers. So with that, let's just kind of wrap it up, and then we'll see if we've got questions. A lot of industries and geographies that product configuration goes across. It can be multi-language, and it can go all across all types of industries, from electronics to capital equipment, to aerospace and defense, fabrics and textiles, for example, furniture, obviously, pumps, doors, etc. A lot of capabilities and a lot of flexibility to really do a whole number of things. So the key takeaways today is product configuration management is really a suite of products. It's not just a configurator. It's definitely not your father's Oldsmobile that I started working with back in the early 90s. That you had to be a progress programmer on. Today the tool set is all graphical. It's drag and drop. You're building models in hours and days and not months and years as before. It really does help you drive sales growth and ultimately really differentiates you from your competition. It allows you to go to market in a very different way with new tools, utilizing technology, which companies are really, really interested in today. How do we do that? How do we make this easy and use technology to differentiate our products? And of course, it's got to be easy to use. From the model designer's standpoint, I mentioned a second ago, the tool set is very graphical, very drag and drop, and you don't have to be a programmer. That's a key part. And then the end users get the benefit of that as they get guided selling experience that you don't have to have 25 years on your product to be able to come in and successfully configure a complex product and quote. And of course, we support a lot of different types of companies and industries around the world. And it's something that if your company has complex products and some of the issues we talked today about, we'd love to talk to you because we have a lot of exciting things that we can help you really look to see how you apply it to your business. And with that, I'll kind of turn it over to Joe to see if we have any questions and open it up.